There's a lot of research on the value of gratitude. You read one of, or will be reading one of the articles by Robert Emmons and Michael McCullough from UC Davis. Let me summarize the two studies there into one. So what they did was essentially take random group of people and divide them into 4 groups. First group, every night before going to bed, write at least 5 things for which you're grateful. Big things or little things. Second group, write at least 5 hassles in your life. 5 bad things that happened to you. Third group, write about at least 5 things that you're better than others at. Superior to others. And the fourth group, control group, write about anything that happened to you during the day. The outcome measures that they looked at was optimism, happiness, physical health, how often they visited the doctor over the 6 months of the study, one of the studies, how generous and benevolent they were toward other people, and finally, how likely they were to achieve their goals that they set for themselves. In other words, how successful they were. The group that performed the worst was the hassles group. 5 bad things that happened to you. The group that performed at best, that was happiest, most optimistic, most likely to achieve their goals, most generous and benevolent toward other people, and healthiest, was the group that every night before going to bed wrote at least 5 things for which they were grateful, both psychological and health benefits. The study was in many ways the beginning, one of the first studies that they conducted. A book just came out recently called Thanks by Robert Emmons, which is wonderful and traces through a lot more studies and research and exercises that you can do to become more grateful, to have gratitude as a way of life. Physiological benefits such as our heart variability, which is a predictor of longevity, which is a predictor of health, is increased. The parasympathetic system increases when we're grateful, and that induces calm, and that strengthens our immune system. There are also many benefits to trait gratefulness. It's not just a state of being. It's also about a trait. How do we cultivate that? How do we cultivate that? By doing it over and over again. I do this every night. I've been doing it since the 19th of September, 1999. Since the 19th of September, 1999, I've been doing it. I've been doing it long before the 2002 study. I started doing it when Oprah told me to do it. Really. And I've been doing it ever since. Let me share with you what I wrote about last night. Was it 26th last night? Yeah. Okay. So, God, family, Tamush, my love, my wife, yoga, I did yoga, David, so wonderful, Shirelle, precious, my 2 children, office hours, I had office hours yesterday that I enjoyed a lot, beep, sorry, another beep, sorry. Some censorship in this class is important. It took you a while, but okay. Beep, no, just kidding about this one. And Tommy's soup, she made this unbelievable pea soup, which I had yesterday. You know, big things and little things. Big things and little things. And here are other things that I'm grateful for right now. I'm grateful for Sean Acor, the head TF of the class. I'm grateful for his work, for his inspiration. I'm grateful to Deb, the head TF of the other class. I'm grateful to the teaching fellows who are investing so much time in your education, in your happiness, in this course. I'm grateful to Barry, who's there behind the scenes. You don't see him much, but he's responsible for so much of what's happening, for his support, for how humble he is doing all that. And I'm grateful for my students, because there wouldn't be a class. I wouldn't be here today doing what I love to do and what I care about most if you weren't here. So thank you. I'm grateful. Now, the key with this is to do it as a way of, yes, is it cheesy? Absolutely. Does it make a difference? Absolutely. You know, every night I also do it with my kid, with David. And how do I do it? I ask David, he's 3.5 years old, what was fun for you today? And he tells me, and then he asks me, what was fun for you today? I learned about it from a friend of mine, who hand worker, who was here just a couple of classes ago visiting, and I came over for dinner one day, and he heard me speak about this, and he said, I want to show you something. And he has 2 young kids, and they were standing around and talking about the 5 grateful things for which they're grateful. These were young kids, you know, Daniel and Maya, and I looked at it and I started to cry. It was so moving and so touching, and I've been doing it ever since with my kids. My wife and I do it on a regular basis. She puts up with my cheesiness. It helps, it works, because we don't take the good things in our lives for granted. The key when we do this is to maintain freshness. How do we maintain freshness? One of the things that happens with this exercise is that it very often becomes a habit, and we lose it. We lose the freshness of it, we lose the mindfulness of it, and we just take it for granted as an exercise. And the key is, one of the things that Lyubomirsky says is, well, try to do it once a week, and for some people, once a week is actually better than doing it every day. However, there's also a price. It's much less likely to become a trait if we only do it once a week. So how do we maintain freshness doing it every single day? How do I maintain freshness? Well, fortunately, there's a lot of research on this topic, some of it by Lyubomirsky as well as by others. The first thing is introduce variety. So let's say I write about Shirel, and there are some things that I write about every day. It's Shirel, my daughter, it's David, my son, it's Tommy, my wife, and it's God. I write about these things every single day, and then I write about other things as well. I can write about different aspects of these things. So one day I can write about Shirel's smile, you know, her beautiful 1-year-old toothless smile. And another day I can write about the fact that she's taking her first steps now. So vary. Or one day I can write about one week I can focus about my work, another week can be mostly focused about personal things. And so on. Variety really is the spice of life. Makes a difference here. Second, Ellen Langer talks about mindfulness. She defines mindfulness as creating novel distinctions, which is similar to creating variety. Looking at things that I haven't seen before, that I haven't looked at before. This is also a way to maintain love. You know, people talk about how, well, over time you adapt to your relationships. Well, there's something new to discover about a person every time, whether it's about my parents, whether it's about my lover, whether it's about my friends. Creating novel distinctions, looking at it mindfully, focusing on it, and maintaining freshness through this focus. Visualizing it. Stephen Coslin from William James Hall, head of our department, did research showing that kids actually visualize most words. So when let's say they say mother, immediately the picture of mother comes up. Whereas very often for us, when we talk, these words are automatic. We no longer visualize it, which is why it takes kids longer to think, because they're still visualizing the words. It's not automatic anymore. Which also explains why kids live like kids, why they're able to appreciate the simplest of things, to be mesmerized and blown away by an airplane up there, or when they talk about what they did at daycare. They live like children. And what we have become over the years, we adapted to it, and we've become numb to a lot of these things. So one of the ways to chip away this numbness, one of the ways to do it is to visualize. And when we visualize, we start to see things once again like kids do.